to enlighten us on the today's topic of design challenges for EV and its aggregates. Sir has completed BS in Electrical Engineering from University of Pune and MTech from Walchand College of Engineering. Sir has served as Deputy Manager in Mahindra Electric Limited in R&D Electric Vehicles Department for Power Grid System. He has also been Assistant Manager at Force Motors. Sir is also Research Fellow at MHRD, that is Ministry of Human Resource and Development. Sir's professional spectrum includes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Prasad. Please continue.
Yeah. The Sir's professional spectrum includes skill sets such as new product development, DVT, DFM, functional safety, handling of softwares like MATLAB, LT-Spice, PSIM, LabVIEW. They are just to name a few. Sir's indispensable contribution in field of electric vehicles is reflected from his publications in IEEE conference papers such as IPAT, I2CT, ICICIT. So, having introduced such a dynamic personality, I would, without a further ado, I would like to invite Sir for putting light on today's topic. So, over to you, Sir, for the further proceedings.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Prasad. And okay, so before starting today's session, I would like to thank you all the staff from our electrical engineering department and principal of KKWA College, and especially Kushare sir, Munje sir, Jangle ma'am. So I think everyone knows me because I am the student of this electrical department only. And yeah, so coming back to the topic. Okay. Please let me know if your screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
Okay, fine. So, good afternoon to all of you. Today we will discuss some design challenges for the electric vehicle field, and especially what are the aggregates which are used in electric vehicle. So, what are the different design challenges which are coming as a hurdle in the path of the electrification of the vehicles. So, myself Sagar Pawar, as introduced by Saurabh, I am working with Mahindra Electric, and we are now developing different powertrains. We are designing and developing and testing with different tests. So first thing is why we are discussing about this electric vehicle topic so deeply, because nowadays you can see in the different conferences, different research debates and all these things, everywhere this electric vehicle topic is there. Everyone is focusing on these things. It is because what are the global climate change is there. So everyone is now concerned towards the global climate change. And last week only, I think 1 week back only, there was a summit in Scotland for this regarding this global climate change only. So here everyone is concerned, mostly the developed nations and developing nations, they are very concerned about this carbon footprint and whatever the climate change is there, because we are seeing the very harsh effect of our climate change into our environment changes. So now, after year of 2012, when Tesla actually launched the vehicle of Tesla Roadster, it was launched in 2008 only, but the actual market grip it started in 2012. So from 2012, if you see the graph of increase in electric vehicle adoption in the global market, so you can see it is like this. So if we take only last 3 years or so, you can see there is a huge change in the automotive market and its share in the electric vehicle domain. So from last 2-3 years, it is almost 100 plus or 150 plus, and it is predicted that by the end of year 2021, there will be the 160 to 180% of the market change in the electric vehicle. This is regarding the global market. What about the regional market? So in case of, if you talk initial slide, you can see here it is the total number of vehicles which are sold in the particular month of particular year. But if you see in this particular slide, so this particular slide shows you the regional contribution of the electric vehicles. So in case of Europe, China, and USA, you can see that these are the developed nations, and these developed countries, developed regions, they are more focusing on the electrification. So almost Tesla has covered the Europe and China and USA. If you see whatever the percentage of the electric vehicles is there. So if you consider that if 100 vehicles are being sold in a particular time period, so among that 100 vehicles, there will be some 60% vehicle will be your Tesla. And here there is no name of India in this graph, because now our Indian government has focused on this electrification from last 4 years. I will say broadly, they have started framing the policies on the electrification of these particular vehicles from the year 2015 only. But from 2017, through the introduction of the FAME scheme. So through this FAME scheme, government is very hardly, pushing very hard for all the manufacturers of the automobiles. But if you compare the market of global market and with the Indian market, in our case, most of the vehicles will be two-wheelers. First share which will be in the electrification phase, it will be two-wheelers and definitely three-wheelers. So because the common people or whatever the middle class people in our India, they will mostly prefer first the two-wheelers and three-wheelers. After that, if you see the four-wheeler share in the Indian EV market, it is very low at the current time, because there are so many factors which are coming as a hurdle in the Indian market. We will discuss those things in upcoming slides. So this is just an overview of this particular EV market. So before going to what are the design challenges in the EV, we'll just focus just briefly. I will introduce about the architecture of particular EV powertrain. So if you consider electric vehicle, if you compare this electric vehicle with your normal petrol or diesel or gasoline vehicle, so what are the changes from the conventional vehicle to this new electric vehicle? So first thing is your engine. Whatever the combustion engine was there, IC engine, it is completely replaced by your electric motor. Then your motor, for controlling your motor, initially for controlling your IC engine, there was the engine control unit. Now for controlling your motor controller is there. After that, your battery pack, in case of normal gasoline vehicles, your petrol, diesel, maybe CNG, these were the your fuels or supply energy sources. Here you can see here the batteries, which is the nothing but it will store your electrical energy into chemical energy, and again your chemical energy will be converted into your electrical energy for the propulsion purpose. So this is your battery pack. So these are the major components, very broad components, which I'm focusing on right now. If you consider the EV powertrain or EV architecture, there are so many factors, but we cannot touch every particular component in a particular time. So what are the different types of EV powertrains? So if you consider, there are two different types of EV powertrain architectures. One is the single axle or two-wheel drive, and second is the four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, we can say. So here you can see in this first figure, you can at the bottom you can see BP is nothing but your battery pack, then inverter, motor, gearbox, and your differential. So this is very simplest and cheapest architecture for the EV powertrain, because you will have a single battery pack, you will have a single inverter, which is nothing but your motor controller, and after that you have motor as a prime mover for the vehicle, and then gearbox for the torque from the motor. You have to boost this torque as per the requirement of the vehicle at the wheels, and there will be a differential for taking differential action of this torque to divide this torque on the both wheels. So this is just a normal architecture as a IC engine. But in case of electric vehicle, there are so many chances, there are so many flexibilities to change these architectures. Now, in second architecture, you can see there is a battery pack, there is a inverter, there is a motor, and after motor, there is a fixed gear ratio. In first case, there was a gearbox which was having multiple gear stages, like single gears, two stage gear, three stage gear. Here, the gearbox is fixed, and your motor will be completely controlled through your motor controller. What is the torque requirement from your vehicle loading? It will be completely controlled by your motor controller. So in this case, your gearbox will be fixed. Now, why this difference is required is because if you are using the multi-speed or multi-stage gear ratio, in that case, you can achieve the better efficiency. This is one side of the coin, but other side of the coin is the cost, and second is your losses in your gearbox. So these are these are the topics which are very debatable at the technical level. We'll not go in that deep also, but if you consider a EV powertrain, if you consider simple any vehicle, so there will be these kind of changes will be there. As a design engineer, first thing in electric vehicle, you have to fix your powertrain architecture. If your powertrain architecture is very good, it is design, or it is all the components are selected as per your requirement and taking the data from the field, then and then you can achieve a better efficiency, better range. So that's why the very first topic is your powertrain. So now third architecture, you can see there is a battery pack, and now there are two inverters and two motors with two different fixed gear ratios. So in this case, you can see in first case, the what are the motor output, it was given to your axle, and it was dividing the torque on the both the wheels. But here your both the wheels or both the front wheels are propelled by your separate motors and gearboxes. So this is again the high performance vehicle architecture, where you can consider as a car which you are looking for a super performance or a super car kind of thing, which will have very high speed, high torque capabilities. So along with these two motor and two inverters, there will be a flexibility in the controlling of your car. There will be the flexibility in performance of your car, but again the cost factor will come in the picture. Now this was your two-wheel drive, or what we can say single axle drive. Now the next architecture is all-wheel drive. In all-wheel drive, you can see there are two axles which are connected to your prime mover, nothing but your motor. So similarly, in like in first architecture we saw, it will be replicated on the both the axles. So your front axle and rear axle both will be driven by your motors. There will be two motors, two inverters for this separate propulsion, and like that you can drive, you can convert your vehicle into all-wheel drive. So in this case, all the wheels will get the torque from your motors, so that you can control and you can have a better stability on your vehicle. And last one is the which is very complex and which is very costlier solution. But definitely, if you want a very high performance vehicle, then this will be your choice for the architecture. In this case, all the wheels will be propelled by your separate motors. All the motors will have their own motor controller, and there will be a central battery pack. So like this here, from first architecture to last architecture, you can see there is a vast of flexibility. But again, the last thing will come as per, if you focus especially on Indian market, then as per our Indian market, the first question will simply ask, if you go in any vehicle showroom, first question will be simply kitna deti hai, and second question will be kitne mein hai. So first is your mileage or your vehicle range, and second is your cost of the vehicle. So these are very critical components in the Indian market. And to design a product which will sustain the competitors from outside, and which will give the exact performance which are your competitors are giving. And third thing is to give the cost effective solution is the major challenge in Indian market for electric vehicle. So this is a broad challenge I am telling. If you comes on the electrification, on the design part of the particular vehicle, so in vehicle electrification, we can see the body and the chassis. There will be the changes on the chassis, but the rest of the body will be similar to your normal petrol or diesel vehicle. But what are the powertrain and what are the aggregates changes are there, that we can see. So what are the challenges in case of electrification? First is your range anxiety. that is your miles per charge or kilometers per charge. If you are charging a particular vehicle from something 20% or your 0% SOC up to 100% SOC. So with one single charge of a particular vehicle, what will be your driving range of the from this vehicle? 100 kilometers, 200, 400, 500 kilometers. So that is your first thing. The second thing is vehicle package design. This is a completely mechanical part. So when you are adopting new components like motor, gearbox, its design, its size, depending on all these things, again, there will be some infotech and all your displays, your different electronic controllers. To adopt all these systems and to place on all these electronic components at a particular location, or to package these things in your vehicle, that is again a packaging challenge is there, because depending on your position of your different locations of these components, as well as your what are the nearby components will be there. So there will be a continuous interaction and continuous noise will be there from the electronic, high frequency electronic noise will be there. So this will be again one of your challenge in case of electrification. Third is your vehicle engineering. In vehicle engineering, your thermal, NVH, and energy. What are the, especially your noise, vibration, harshness of the vehicle, and your what are the heat is generated in your vehicle, how you are utilizing that generated heat, or how you are controlling temperature of your vehicle, or your aggregates like motor, motor controller, battery pack. So this is a challenge again from vehicle engineering. We'll see in upcoming slides in details. And last one is nothing but safety and durability. So when you are carrying a very heavy high voltage battery pack in your vehicle, so there will be always a question from the customers and from the different stakeholders that what is the safety and durability level of this particular vehicle. So during any accident or any crash of this particular vehicle, if by chance if any cell gets penetrated, if any metal part gets penetrated into your cell, so there will be a chances of fire and all these hazards. So from that perspective, you have to design your battery packs. You have to take care of all the safety and failure modes. So these are the challenge. We'll see one by one in details. Please let me know if I'm audible. Otherwise, I will be talking here and or I will get disconnected. Saurabh, is
You're
it audible?
completely audible. You're
Yes.
completely
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So first challenge in electrification is your range anxiety. So again, in what are the factors? What are the different factors on which your electric vehicle range depends? So initially in first or second slide only, I discussed that these are the architecture, different types of architectures. So depending on your architectures, what is the performance you are demanding from your vehicle? That also affects your range. So just consider there is a car. Take an example of Tata Nexon, and if you are demanding very high performance, like it should have acceleration from 0 to 100 kmph within 3 seconds. It should run on the speed of 150, 200 kmph. All these factors, if you are demanding from this particular vehicle, and if you see the size of Tata Nexon, so what are the battery pack which is required to give all these your performances? So sorry, not battery pack. What are the machines which are drive motors? So depending on the efficiency of these drive motors, what are the energy consumption from these drive motors, that will definitely that will make a stress on your battery pack. So whatever the space available in your vehicle, that is a constraint, because you cannot go beyond your vehicle size. You have to package all the battery pack within that particular limited size only. So these are this is very crucial factor, which is the first stage of your design, because while designing any particular vehicle, we have to run the different vehicle simulations at the different test cases, different road conditions, different field conditions. We have to run for different temperatures and altitude levels. So all these factors you have to consider, and then you have to select a particular battery pack. And after selecting that battery pack and motor and gearboxes, there will be a very limited chance for you or for any design engineer to increase the range of this particular vehicle. So definitely this space is the matter for the electric vehicle. Depending on what are the different battery technologies or battery chemistries are coming. So these upcoming battery chemistries, it may help to increase the energy density of the batteries so that within a limited space we can accommodate a very high amount of energy in your battery packs. So yeah, this is the architectural issue that we have to focus. Second is the temperature. Temperature is very important parameter in case of electric vehicle. It was also important parameter in case of your petrol or diesel vehicles. But in case of electric vehicles, most of the components are electronic, like power electronic converter, like your power electronic converters, then your motor, all these electrical components which are very susceptible to your temperature variations. Its characteristic changes on your temperature. Its safety also depends on your temperature. And the most critical parameter in your critical aggregate in your vehicle is the battery. So battery performance will, or battery life, battery performance, its range, it will completely depends on your vehicle. All the cell manufacturers from different regions, they will suggest that the particular battery cell or particular battery pack, it should be operated within 20 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. So there will be a maximum 5 degrees of delta T if you are considering ambient of 25 degrees Celsius. So there is a very limited chance or there is a very limited window for the design engineer to develop all these things. So depending on the regions, now if you consider in India, again will not go beyond India, we will consider example of India. In India, if you go is in Rajasthan, the ambient temperature will be your 55 degrees Celsius. In northeast side, if you go there, your ambient temperature will be some 10 degrees or 15 degrees. In south region, if you go, your ambient temperature will be like 25 degree to 30 degrees Celsius. So depending on the different regions, a manufacturer cannot design a different kinds of version for the vehicle. So for this vehicle, you have to give the heating and cooling mechanism for this battery pack. If your battery temperature is less than your 20 degrees or 15 degrees Celsius, your internal impedance of the battery or your cell, that will increase. And because increasing of this internal impedance, your whatever the losses in your battery pack, that will increase. So that will directly impact on your range. If your battery temperature is very high, then your battery cell will go into dangerous condition. There will be a chances of the thermal runout. So for all by taking all these factors into the consideration, your temperature controlling is for the particular electric vehicle aggregates, it is very crucial. And for controlling any temperature of your vehicle as well as your cabin temperature, that will be a load on your battery pack itself, because in temperature control mechanism, there will be a radiator, there will be a pump for coolant circulation, then there will be some heat exchangers. So for operation of all these thermal equipments, you will be consuming battery from your main battery pack of your vehicle. So that will again impact on your vehicle range. So all these factors we have to consider while designing the particular vehicle. Then next is your time for the refilling. Everyone knows, everyone will ask if a particular vehicle is there, what will be the time of your charging. Even though if you are using our cell phones, we are looking for the fast chargers, we are looking for the mobiles which will get charged within 15 minutes, like that, because time is very important for everyone. Similarly, if you compare directly the petrol vehicles or diesel vehicles with your electric vehicles, there will be this factor will be always dominant. And because if you goes on petrol pump, you can fill your tank within 10 minutes and you can go for your journey. But in case of electric vehicle, this is a little bit lagging factor, because the chemistry of particular selected battery pack, the temperature conditions, the life of your battery pack, all these factors will depend on your charging rates. So if you are charging any battery pack, if you consider any particular battery pack, it is getting charged with 1C. 1C means it's rated capacity. So if it is getting charged with 1C, then it will the supplier will say, okay, if you are charging with 1C, you will get 5,000 life cycle of this particular battery pack. If that battery pack is getting, if it is charging with 0.5C, so half of your capacity. If you are charging with 0.5 per times of your current, then you will get some 7,000 of life cycle. And again, if you are charging this particular vehicle with more than 1C, like 1.5 or 2 times its rated capacity, then your life cycle of overall life of the battery pack, it will come down to 3000 life cycle, like that. So but as from the customer point of view, customer will always demand the fast charging. So there are two options in electric vehicle. One is the fast charger, one is the slow charger. When you are having plenty of time for charging of your vehicle, you can plug your charger, slow charger, and you can charge your vehicle. That will definitely save your life cycle of particular battery pack. But when you are on a particular journey, then definitely you can boost your range. So this will be a range booster kind of thing. If you're it will not be a complete full charge with your fast charger, but it will be a from 40% to 80% of your battery. You will charge that battery pack with a fast charger, so that it will not make an impact on your life cycle that much. So this is one of the challenge again in case of your range anxiety. And last one, but which is not the least one, the cost of the particular battery pack. So if you want to have a long range of particular vehicle within a single charge, definitely you will have it is very fundamental. You will have a higher capacity of battery pack. If your battery pack is of higher rate, higher capacity, definitely that will impact on your total cost of your vehicle. So generally the lithium ion battery packs which are being used in the vehicle, so its cost is almost average cost, if you consider then $250 per kilowatt is your average cost of particular battery pack as per the global market. So if you want to increase your battery size, or if you want to increase your range by increasing your battery size, you have to check how that will impact on your cost factor as well. Second thing, the selection of your battery chemistry. So battery chemistry, there are so many battery chemistries like LFP, NCA, then NMC. All these are the different battery chemistries, combination of different oxides and different chemical materials. So depending on these chemistries, there will be a capacity, or there will be a particular factor which is nothing but your energy storing capacity of the particular cell. So if you are choosing a very high density electric cell or electric battery pack, then in that case your cost will be definitely on higher side, because what are the components or what are the raw material which is being used for these particular cells, these will be on the higher side as well. So again, this range factor definitely makes a very huge impact on your cost factor of this particular vehicle. So next is packaging challenge. Packaging challenge is nothing but, first is your battery pack, because if you talk about cost, your 60% cost of your electric vehicle, it will be your battery pack, and cost of your battery pack. And second, if you talk about the space required or size required, again in that case also your 50% or almost 45 to 50% space in your vehicle, that will be taken by your battery pack. So this is very challenging job for a design engineer. He may be a electrical, he may be a mechanical engineer, but this is a very challenging job, because within a very compact space, you have to accumulate all the what are the required or desired battery pack for your vehicle, so that you can get a better range, better driving performance. Second thing, if you are keeping all these cells very closer and in a compact size, there will be a next challenge for the engineer, that what are the temperature issues will come, because if battery pack is getting loaded, then definitely there will be generation of hotspot in between the cells which are in the center. It will not get a better cooling. Again, you have to provide the cooling pipes or cooling plates through the battery pack. Here in this picture you can see these are the different modules which are placed in this particular chassis. This is your chassis, and these are the modules which are placed in your chassis. And in between these modules, there will be some coolant which will be flowing through the particular cooling pipe or cooling channels. So you have to take care of that also. Again, this battery pack is considered 400 volt. So this 400 volt will be very dangerous from the UN perspective. So you have to take care of electrical safety also. So all these challenges are there in case of packaging. Again, if you consider from the crash point of view, So there you should have a very rugged and very durable battery pack, so that if anyhow your vehicle is facing some crash, in that case also your whatever the metallic parts or metallic screws, it should not get penetrated into your cells, because by penetrating your cell, it will definitely catch the fire. So all these factors you have to consider from the packaging point of view. Next major component is your driveline or drivetrain. So in case of drivetrain, it is the combination of your motor, your gearbox, your differential, and your motor controller. So all these components or these aggregates that will defined as your drivetrain. So in case of drivetrain, okay, motor, it will be mounted on your axle, that is acceptable. But while mounting this motor on the axle, you have to consider your mechanical stability of your axle. You have to consider the different vibrations which will come on the axle and your motor, because this motor will be mounted face. It may be a face mounted. It may be a T axle. It may be a coaxial motor. So whatever it may be, but what are the vibrations which are coming directly through your wheels on the motor, that will definitely make an impact on your performance of the motor. So this thing also you have to consider while packaging of your motor. Second thing, due to these vibrations, if the frequency of these vibrations gets resonance with your natural frequency of the vibration, then definitely there will be a breakout. There will be a sudden failure of this motor. So from the structural point of view, this is the point. So these are the challenges. Again, what are the motor interface with your gearbox? So this motor and gearbox interfacing is the very critical parameter, because there will be here in this image you can see there will be some tooths on there will be some teeth on your motor axle, which will be connected to your gearbox. And because this interconnection of different gears or gear teeth, there will be a continuous losses, as well as there will be a continuous humming noise coming from this gearbox. So you have to again look into the in-which parameters of this particular thing. So yeah, these are the packaging and some design challenges for the drivetrain as well as your battery pack. Along with these major components, some other components like motor controller units. Now I consider all of you are electrical engineers, and you can understand this motor controller. So this motor controller is nothing but one of your inverter, which will be controlling your induction or PMSM or IPM or BLDC, whatever motor. So this motor controller, it should be very closer to this your motor. But from packaging point of view, from assembly point of view, there will be a challenges, because the space constraint again will be a major concern in your vehicle. If you put this motor controller much more, say for example, your vehicle is front wheel drive, and you are keeping this prime mover or your motor on the front axle, and your motor controller is placed on the rear axle or nearby to your rear axle. So there will be a cables which will be conducting very high current from your back rear axle to your front axle. So these motor controllers will be operated on the 10 kilohertz or 15 kilohertz of frequency. So these cables which are running through your vehicle, they will be carrying a very high frequency noise, and this high frequency noise, it will get interacted with your other infotic or other electronic controllers in your vehicle, such as your display, your BMS, your VCU. So there will be again a EMI EMC problem that we'll see in upcoming slides. So because of this, it is always suggested that this motor controller, it should be placed very closer, or it should be close on the top of your motor, so that whatever the length of the cables which are running in between your motor and motor controller, it should be less only. Length should be small. So this is again point with the motor controller. Then next is your DC-DC converter. Again, this is the DC-DC converter which will be used in your vehicle to convert your high voltage to low voltage, because there will be some 12 volt or 24 volt applications like your display unit, your power steering, your ventilation systems, all will be working on the 12 volt. So these how to bring this 12 volts? So what are the 400 from your battery pack? We have to convert it into 12 volts through the DC-DC converters, And again, placement of these DC-DC converters, that will be one of the challenge because of from the AMI/EMC perspective. And next is your wiring harness. All the HV cables which are running from battery to your power distribution unit, from power distribution unit to your motor controller to your motor, again from battery pack to your DC-DC converters. All these are the HV cables which will be running all over your vehicle. So you cannot route all these cables randomly in your vehicle. So there are specific standards from the Automotive Society of India and ARI. All these standard defines the particular position of the HV cables from the human safety perspective, from the vehicle performance, and from the functional safety perspective. All these challenges are there for the wiring harness as well. If you are routing your high voltage like 400 voltage cable and the two 12 volt signal cables which will be carrying the control signal, if you are routing these cables alongside, then there will be again the interference in your control signals, and that will result in your malfunction of the particular controllers. So from packaging point of view, these are the challenges in case of electric vehicle. You have all the constraint, like you have the space constraint, you have the position constraint, you have to overcome all these constraints, and you have to make your vehicle running. So these are the packaging constraints. So next is your NVH. NVH is nothing but noise, vibrations, and harshness. So if you consider the again petrol and diesel vehicles. So in petrol and diesel vehicles, whatever the noise it was coming from your road as from the tires, and second was your engine. So it was very acceptable. If any particular component it is giving some noise, that was not audible in case, because it was getting dominated by your engine noise, it was dominated by your tire noise. But in case of electric vehicle, there is no engine. So there motor there will be very less dB sound will be there. So in this case, if your any particular component, if it is making some noise, if it is making some sound, then it will be it will irritate the driver. And from the design perspective, from the customer point of view, this point is also important, because no one will accept a product after giving so much of money, and if there is noise in the cabin while driving. So this point we have to consider. In case of petrol diesel engine, it was okay, it was acceptable because engine was noisy. But in case of electric vehicles, your motor is not making any noise. So definitely, what are the other noise which are coming due to the other components, that will make an impact. So this is your comparison. You can see here, powertrain noise was 50% in case of your petrol or diesel vehicles. Road noise was 30%. Ancillary system noise, like your some coolant pump is there, or your radiator is there, so it was 10%. And wind noise is nothing but what are the mirrors, and it is because the aerodynamics. So what are the wind noise was there. But now you can see here, in case of your electric vehicle, this wind noise itself, it is going 30%, because your powertrain noise is from 50%, it became to 15%. So now, because this dominating noise is not there from the powertrain, so rest of the noise will get boosted. Even though initially it was there, but its impact or its domination was not there. But now this powertrain noise itself, it is less. So because of that, only your wind noise and road noise, it will be more audible. So from the driver comfort, from the customer point of view, we have to consider these factors. We have to reduce the noise. We have to design a vehicle which should be very soundproof, or which should reduce the noise which is coming from your wind noise. So for that, you have to work on your aerodynamic shape. For that, you have to work on your tire selection. For that, you have to work on your windows and your glass, your doors, all these cylinders. All these things are the design perspective from the mechanical side or vehicle design point of view. So these points you have to consider from the NVH. This is also one of the major challenge in case of electric vehicles. Along with this wind and road noise, if any particular component is there, consider your wiper motor. If your wiper is on, and if it is that wiper motor, it is making noise that will be audible in case of electric vehicle, because initially it was getting dominated by powertrain noise, but now it is completely audible to driver. So no customer will accept that kind of thing. So this is the one of design challenge in case of your electric vehicle. Next point is your safety and durability. This is very important and very critical parameter of the electric vehicle. So battery safety and its durability. So first point is your crash safety. Definitely any vehicle, you have to build it from the crash perspective. You have to go for the crash test, and during crash test, if that particular battery pack or any particular cell gets catches the fire, definitely your product will not come into the market. And again, that will create a bad impact of your product, as well as your that will definitely make an bad image of your company into the market. So from design perspective, you have to consider this crash safety, because you are carrying a 400-volt battery pack in your vehicle, and if any particular cell gets penetrated by any particular bolt or any particular metallic part, definitely there are chances of catching fire. But to avoid this kind of issues, you have to consider the different structural, as well as your safety, as well as your crash points, how to prevent your battery pack from getting direct impact by any crash from any side of your vehicle. It may be front side, it may be rear side, it may be on the left or right side. So this point we have to consider. So mechanical structure design, but while selecting this mechanical structure, you have to again consider your weight, because if you are for taking the care of battery pack, if you are increasing the mechanical weight, that will definitely increase the load on your battery pack itself, and definitely it will result into your it will make an impact on your vehicle range. So this thing also you have to consider from the battery safety. Second is water tightness. As it is electrical component, no need to, I think all of you can understand what is the importance of this factor. If it is 400 volt, it is a chemical part, and if you water, if any ingress of water is there, then there will be a your product will fail automatically. So from the standards and from the vehicle safety point of view, your product should be IP65 or IP67 or IP69 6K9K. So this kind of for making this kind of design like waterproof, dustproof, you have to put so many engineering efforts into your product. You have to consider all the different impacts. You have to maintain the pressure inside your particular battery pack, your motor controllers, and still you have to maintain the water tightness. So this is very challenging part again to design the casings which are IP67 or 6K9K. Next is the submersion. Submersion is nothing but now this point I will explain very easily. We can consider a condition of Mumbai. In case of Mumbai during the rainy season, you can see within a rain after raining of 8 hours or 10 hours, there will be a water which is up to your knee level or maybe your waist level. So it will get flooded, and in that case, if even if you are not driving your vehicle, but it will get immersed. What are the battery packs and all the electronic components? It will be submerged into the water. So in that case, even if it is submerged for 8 hours or 10 hours or 15 hours, it should not. There should be no ingression of water into your components. So that is one of the main challenge. So for this again, while testing, we have to design your component, and while testing, there is a standard from AIS. So according to that standard, you have to keep your product at least 1 meter into deep into the water, and you have to keep that product for particular 24 hours. Then you have to keep for 48 hours, then 72 hours. Like that, different tests are there. So this is the challenge from the submersion. And next is the combustion. So a very critical and very challenging task is to prevent any combustion of into your vehicle, because your cells, very critical parameter is your battery cell. It definitely it is having chances of catching fire. We cannot say every time it will catch, but there are so many chances it can catch a fire. And from that perspective only, keeping that point into your mind, you have to follow the different standards like UL, ECE from the European Union, then IEC, which is the global standard. All these global standards will define the particular safety level and particular test conditions for the prevention of the fire into your vehicle. So we will not go so much deep into these standards, but yes, these are the points from the safety and durability. I think Saurabh, how much time can I can continue?
Sir, it's almost end, but if you want, you can wind up within something.
Okay, I will take 10 more minutes. That's it.
Yeah,
This
sure.
is very important part.
Yeah.
So next is a very important part. Like now, we already discussed about the mechanical and electrical parts, which we are aware. But the very important part is EMI EMC mitigation, because what are the radiations or what are the electromagnetic waves which are coming due to the switching of high frequency converters, because of the long length of your cables, all this because of your motor, because as it is purely inductive load. So all these points will come and it will radiate some noise, it will radiate some electromagnetic waves that will get interference with the your other critical components like vehicle control unit, your battery management system, which are all these components which are very susceptible to your all this electromagnetic noise. So in case of electric vehicles, by by giving some provisions into your system, you have to always take care of all this EMI EMC. Otherwise, your product will not fail because of your water or accident or crash or anything. Your product will simply fail without making any noise. That is simple thing. So it is very difficult to identify the fault location or reason behind this failure if it is because of the EMI EMC. So all these things you have to take care during your design phase only. Now, a simple example to understand EMI EMC, I will give you. If this is your probe for your DSO or your oscilloscope, and this is your particular any converter, it may be DC-DC converter, it may be your any kind of switch mode power supply. So here you can see if you are measuring the output voltage or any signal like this, this is your VCC pin, and this is your ground pin, and this is your normal probe. If you are measuring any output or any waveform like this, you can see there is a large loop because of the length of this ground cable. There will be a large loop for this signal. And what will happen because of this large loop? You can see here, you can see this kind of spikes. Okay, these kind of spikes will come into your measurement. So this is from the measurements perspective. But now same thing will happen when you are there are long lengths of your high voltage cables running from your motor controller to motor, then battery pack to your power distribution unit. So these cables will also behave as an antenna. They will radiate the noise, and that radiated noise will get interference with your other components. So now you can see the in second method, here is the your plus VCC point, and here is the your ground cable. So you can see as compared to this loop is very short, and you can check the impact. You can see the what are the noise it was coming in first case. It is very less, very small spike is there. So this is the better example for understanding this EMI EMC. So any projected or any high loop long loop cables, it will behave as an antenna. It will make interference with your system, and it will result into if that interference is on a higher side, if it intensity is very high, then definitely it will cause the malfunction of your product, or it will not let your product to work properly. So these are the particular factors from the EMI EMC mitigation. Here you can see this is your origin source, and this is your appliances like your BMS or your vehicle control unit, and these are the different modes. If it is directly connected, then whatever the noise from your switching, it will radiate, or it will be transferred to your appliance through your cables. If it is placed close by, then there will be a electromagnetic some interference will come due to the radiation. So for this perspective, you have to keep some filters on your input output side, as well as you have to give proper shielding. This shielding will work as a filter for your critical or delicate components. And here you can see result of the noise. So this is the simple one of the example which I faced during my testing of one inverter. So because of the large tracks or large inductance of the stray inductance, especially stray inductance of my bus bar, my voltage across the switch, it is going up to 320 volt. It was as per the design, it should be 200 volt while turning off the switch, but because of this noise or stray inductance, it is boosting up to or shooting up to 300 or 350 volt. So that will definitely result into failure of my MOSFET or my IGBT. So these are the very critical parameters from the design perspective. This was the discussion for the aggregate level. And again, drivetrain. In case of drivetrain, very shortly I will tell that selection of the gearbox is the very critical component, because if you are see here, this is your driving cycle. If your vehicle is driving at particular velocity at different acceleration rate, so that will result into your top speed, maximum torque, and maximum driveline efficiency. These factors will come in the picture because of this kind of driveline. No vehicle is running on the constant speed. So to achieve all these driving performance points, you have to select a particular motor along with the particular gearbox properly. Now you can see here, your motor is having maximum efficiency of 96% in the speed range of 3000 to 4000 RPM. But my motor or my vehicle will not operate continuously in this region only. It will operate at lower speed in the traffic. It will operate on highway. It will go on the higher speed. And in case of hilly road, it will be vehicle will be demanding higher torque. So my operating condition of vehicle will not be at this particular point. So to achieve the maximum driveline efficiency, you have to select the optimized gear ratio, so that you will make sure that in maximum case your vehicle will operate in this particular high efficiency region. This red region only, your vehicle maximum operating point, it should be here only, and then you can get a better efficiency. And by increasing this driveline efficiency, your direct impact will be on your whatever the vehicle range. So these are the different parameters from the design perspective. We cannot go very deep into each parameter, but this is the overview of the different challenges which we actually face in every product design for the electric vehicle. So I think that is done from my side. If you have any question for anyone, then you can raise your question. I will try to answer.
I guess there are no questions. I do have checked the inbox also. So are
Okay.
there any questions from the audience? You can have them written in the chat box. I'll read it out first, sir. There are no such questions, sir. So
Okay.
I would like to thank you for your insightful session. The session was certainly proven to add knowledge in the repository of our facts. Electric vehicle is a kind of unsurpassed need of the hour, and your session has highlighted the fact very well. Market trend presentation was completely insightful, the one that you did, and I personally found the powertrain to be one of the most intuitive part of your presentation. So I would like to once again thank you for your time today on our platform to share your valuable insights. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Saurabh, and I will within a few seconds I would like to thanks all the professors of the electrical department, and for giving me such a great opportunity to discuss with you, and to present my whatever the experience or whatever the knowledge I gathered within last couple of years. So definitely, if you have any questions, any student or anyone, if you have any doubts regarding this particular field, you can reach out to me. You can contact Jangle ma'am. She will give my contact, and you can reach out to me. Yeah, and
It's
thank you
definitely
again.
a pleasure to reach you out with questions.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
It brings me immense pleasure to extend again vote of thanks on behalf of the EFET committee. I am again elated to introduce our second keynote speaker for the day, Mr. Mohan Vijay Joshi sir, to enlighten us today on the topic of connected and electrical mobility. Sir has completed his BTech from Walchand College of Engineering, followed by MTech in electrical power systems from the same college. To date, sir has worked as design engineer in Tata Technologies, project support engineer again at Tata Motors, followed by bagging position of senior manager in his work tenure in the same institution. He had also served as senior engineer at FEV India. Currently, he is working as assistant consultant in TCS Pune. Vivid skill set and capabilities of Sir reflects from his technical expertise in handling of softwares like MATLAB, CATIA, R20, AutoCAD, just to name a few. Sir's indispensable contribution